Tonight I want to talk to you about truth, about the importance of truth in a democracy, and about the president's relentless assault on the truth, and how that is part of a dictator's playbook. So let's look at truth from the perspective of the big lie about January 6th. But before we talk about that big lie, I need to acknowledge that I really didn't understand the whole theory of the big lie by reading history. We're all familiar with that term from the historic references to Goebbels, part of the Nazi regime, propaganda regime, the Goebbels theory that if the lie was big enough and repeated often enough, that you could get people to believe anything. So I understood that as you would understand reading a textbook, and you might be able to repeat how that big lie is supposed to work. But could we really understand? I don't know about you, but I couldn't really wrap my head around it or believe that it could really work that way until Donald Trump, January 6th, and the modern day big lie. So here we have this massive attack on the Capitol. We watch it on our screens. I'm there in real time watching it. My colleagues are there in real time. We're forced to flee the chamber. I remember what that was like when the Capitol Police took to the House floor and said rioters were in the building. I remember deploying the gas masks. I remember people getting down on the ground. I remember being told we need to get out. I remember what that day was like, and we all witnessed it together. How is it possible that Donald Trump could persuade half the country that it never happened, or it was a peaceful tourist day, or the people attacking and beating police officers were somehow political prisoners or innocent protesters or whatnot? We got to see, and we continue to see, the power of the big lie. It has gotten to the point where in this administration, you can't be nominated for high office, you can't be confirmed for high office unless you're willing to swear fealty to that big lie. Let's look at our new Attorney General, Pam Bondi. This is her during her confirmation hearing.
I want to ask you a factual question. Who won the 2020 presidential election?
Joe Biden is the President of the United States.
Ms. Bondi, you know that there is a difference between acknowledging it and, I can say that Donald Trump won the 2024 election. I may not like it, but I can say it. You cannot say who won the 2020 presidential election. Okay.
That's right. There's Pam Bondi, unable to state the obvious that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, because if she spoke the simple truth, her nomination was over. But of course, it wasn't just Bondi. It was also Kash Patel, our new FBI director. This is Kash Patel during his confirmation hearing.
Can you say the words, Joe Biden won the 2020 election?
Joe Biden was the president of the United States.
You understand this? There's a difference. I can say the words, Donald Trump won. I don't like to say it, but I must say it.
He can't bring himself to say simply that Joe Biden won the election. Of course, he's not alone. Here's Dan Bishop, the nominee to be the number 2 at the Office of Management and Budget.
For the record, do you believe the 2020 election was rigged?
I joined the view Director Vogt expressed on the point.
I'm sorry?
I joined Director View's view of that question. He said it was rigged in his questions, in his response.
And you
to
think it's
and
rigged?
I joined that, yeah.
Still pushing the lie that somehow the election was rigged. But it goes well beyond the big lie. And it's not just that these cabinet nominees or high-level nominees at the Justice Department and for other positions have to lie about the 2020 election. It's also that now the whole Justice Department and administration has to enforce the lie. And so Pam Bondi is using the power of the Justice Department to go after law firms that represented people that were victimized on January 6th. They're going after other law firms because they were representing Special Counsel Jack Smith. They have to enforce the lie. But it is not just the big lie. Indeed, the broader danger to our democracy may lie in all of the little lies, all of the everyday constant lies, the fire hose of falsehood. Let's look at some recent examples. Here's Donald Trump making the claim that we spent 50 million, no, that's not enough, 100 million on providing condoms to Hamas.
Program, $50 million plus another $50 million for condoms for Hamas. Do you know about that? $100 million for condoms. Condoms. Does everybody know what a condom is? For Hamas, $100 million.
Okay, there is no evidence whatsoever of that, and he knows that. But does that stop him from saying it? Of course not. Let's look at another little lie.
It's ridiculous. We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know. And it's just absolutely ridiculous.
But that's false too. There are many other countries that have birthright citizenship, like Canada, like Mexico, like many other nations. Another small but palpable lie. Here's a gusher of deceit about California water policy. Here's Donald Trump saying that he was releasing massive amounts of water to help fight the fires.
What a shame. And by the way, the water is flowing in California. I hope you people have seen it. But the water is flowing. Do you have a picture of that? I'd hold it up. Do you have a picture of that? Get a picture of it, please. You know, we had a little skirmish in California. I can't believe we had to do that. But we opened up the water in California. The water was flowing into a place called the Pacific Ocean, which for the Pacific Ocean is only a drop. But for us, it's more water than we can use in California. So I'll get you some photographs, but it's a beautiful sight.
The problem with this, of course, is the fires were already out, and the water he released couldn't even get to the Southern California location of these fires if they had still been burning. But probably no set of lies was given in any single speech with more frequency than in the State of the Union. Let's clock just a few of the Trumpian lies during the State of the Union. Here's Trump talking about immigrants or migrants destroyed Aurora, Colorado, or Springfield, Ohio.
Entire towns like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, buckled under the weight of the migrant occupation and corruption like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful towns destroyed.
Of course, that was the whole false claim about immigrants eating cats and dogs. But let's look at another lie from the State of the Union. Here's Trump saying how much we've spent to support Ukraine.
And we've spent perhaps $350 billion, like taking candy from a baby. That's what happened. And they've spent $100 billion. What a difference that is.
That was another massive lie. Here's Trump saying what Americans think about the direction of the country.
Now, for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. In fact, it's an astonishing record, 27-point swing, the most ever.
That was a lie. Here's Donald Trump on the subject of censorship.
And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back.
That was a lie. So the Washington Post identified after Trump's first 4 years in office a total of 30,573 lies told by the president in a single 4-year term. 30,573 lies. If you try to look up his lies on Wikipedia, you get a disclaimer that you may need to break this down into subheadings, otherwise it could be just too long and confusing. Now, the interesting thing about Donald Trump that you need to understand is Donald Trump doesn't claim to tell the truth. He doesn't pretend to be telling the truth. No, Donald Trump's argument is the argument of dictators around the world and is much more insidious. His argument is essentially, yes, he's a liar, but so is everyone else, and he's your liar. He's your liar. If you can convince people that everything is lies, if you can convince people that they're entitled to their own alternate facts, to quote the infamous Kellyanne Conway, then what basis do we have for democratic governance? How do we decide what policy should be? How do we decide who should govern? What is left but falling back on political tribe or on violence? And this is why, of all of the efforts of the Trump administration to attack our democracy, perhaps the most corrosive has been this relentless assault on the truth. You may have wondered, why did the first Trump administration try to make such a villain out of Anthony Fauci? Anthony Fauci, a person who's devoted their whole life to the scientific inquiry, to trying to find cures and treatments and help people through deadly pandemics. Why go after him? Well, if your object is to destroy truth, then what more potent symbol than a scientist? What endeavor is more akin to the search for truth than science? Go after the scientists, go after science, go after fact, go after truth, and you have paved the way to dictatorship. This is why the truth matters in our society. Now, this president has a tool to propagate his lies that others who went before did not have. He has the power of social media to amplify, and what that allows him to do is bypass traditional media that will check him, that will fact check him, that may point out his lies, and go directly to people with his propaganda. And the use of that propaganda, now the expansion of that propaganda through Elon Musk and his ownership of X, makes him exponentially more powerful of a liar. But again, the principal danger facing us is in a country, in a world with no truth, then violence becomes the substitute for informed decision making. So what do we do about all this? What do we do about all the lies coming out of this administration and all of their happy enablers and all of their amplification and all their Elon Musk loudspeakers? What do we do about this? Look, there is only one answer. I still believe that we need to be vigorous in the marketplace of ideas. We need to combat their falsehoods with the truth. We need to be aggressive in fighting back with good information. There's simply no substitute. And yes, we're up against an awful lot. They have these powerful amplifiers, but you are the most powerful amplifier. There is no bot that can replace you. There is no foreign actor that has a greater voice than yours if you make your voice heard. I'm going to do my part. I'm doing everything I can with these witnesses at these hearings, in these nightly videos, to tell the truth to the American people about what's happening, to point out all the terrible falsehoods they're being inundated with. But we all have our role. We all have our circles. Some may be large, some may be small. You may have 5 followers, you may have 5 million followers. But we need your voice in every way you can use it. Online, in person, in your neighborhood, letters to the editor or to your member of Congress. You have a voice, you have a vote, and we need you to use it. Hey everybody, so I started to make these nightly videos because I kept hearing from people with everything going on. It'd be nice to have some explanation at the end of the day that helps make sense of it all. So that's what I've tried to do, but I would love your feedback, and if you'd like to continue the conversation, please join along. But let me know, are there subjects you want me to cover? Are there movie clips you want me to include? As you can tell, I'm a movie fan, but I hope we'll get to continue the conversation and welcome your feedback.
Support a visionary leader committed to unity. Prince Adam's inclusion on the ballot is crucial for diversity. Help Prince Adam make history in 2028. Donate now to support change. Support Prince Adam for 2028.